Greetings and welcome to the June edition of The Place to Be Oshkosh. I'm your host, John Neiman. Thank you very much for joining us. As I always do, I want to begin by thanking those who make this show possible. Besides the Oshkosh Media crew, we have the Friends of OCM Oshkosh Media who have supported this show. Also, we have Karen and the Oshkosh Herald, a great community newspaper if you want to know what's going on, especially with lots and lots of pictures. Turn to the Oshkosh Herald. Also, do a subscription. They're wonderful gifts. And then Set Design by Brian at Ubloom on Witzel. And I have to thank Brian today because if you look at our set design, there's a clue of what our guests are going to be later on. But I thank him again. And also, part of our set design is a live plant. Brian's Garden Center just opened. And he has unique plants, perennials and annuals, lots of things. And remember, people, that Father's Day is coming up soon, and we also like plants also. So I also want to thank Mary Jean Ross, who I've known for years. I met her as she was roller skating through the Pain when I worked there, and she's a local artist, and she has a lot of her items at Ubloom, including the special dog glasses that are on our table for today. Where can you see our show? Well, it's on Life TV, Oshkosh Media, Spectrum Channel 2. Also, you can download the apps for Roku, Amazon, Fire TV, Apple TV, and also on YouTube. So if you go on YouTube, you just put in Oshkosh Media, all the shows will show up. Please like them and share them and help spread the word on this wonderful show. A couple updates. Downtown Care Team is in full swing. Now we go out Mondays and Friday mornings at 8 a.m. We do 4 areas of the downtown. We do the Leach Center and the waterfront. We do Sundial Square. We do Main Street. And we also do the public library and the back lots. And we like to keep it nice and clean for all our visitors and all those who shop downtown. Now I have some exciting news to share. Oshkosh Media won 9 awards at Media Fest, which was held this past May. It incorporates 9 states. And so our own Oshkosh Media here won 9 awards, but yours truly also won for the second year in a row the Award of Excellence for a talk show amateur. So, and with the guest we have today, I'm going for 3. So thank you. But this is really nice, and this speaks so highly of all the entire crew here. I want to thank makeup and wardrobe and catering. Of course, we don't have that. We're a local cable station. But I could not have done this without Oshkosh Media and the support of my sponsors, Ubloom, Karen, the Herald, and the Friends of OCM. I really do appreciate all they did, and I really treasure this. I've been with Oshkosh Media for over 20 years. And so this is truly wonderful. Also want to share some important dates because everybody's been asking. The Downtown Farmers Market begins on June 7th, which is right around the corner, 8 to 12:30 on Saturdays. Also, a new event, Music on Main Street, begins on June 4th, 5:30 p.m. in Sundial Square. And Waterfest at the Leach starts June 12th. Also wanted to share something with you. I toured a place a couple weeks ago. It's called Cherith Indoor Fundraiser. Thank you, crew. I just talk and it shows up on the screen. They're located in the back of the Republican office on Main Street, and they have a thrift store. And it's called an indoor fundraiser. All their money goes to the Cherish program, who helps people in need. So they're open Monday to Saturday, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. It's volunteer driven. So if you like to thrift, check it out. You'll see signs outside, and then you walk by the parking lot and you'll see the doors there. It's really, really a wonderful place. Cherith Indoor Fundraiser, 738 North Main Street. That's what I have for you to catch up on what's going on in the city. Stay tuned. And we'll be back for our second segment of our June edition of The Place to Be Oshkosh.
Holding a phone takes precious attention away from the road. That's why handheld cell phone use is now illegal in Wisconsin work zones, and fines start at $40. Driving deserves your undivided attention. It's about safety for workers and for all motorists. So when you see orange cones, please put down the phone. The Wisconsin DOT urges you to help us achieve 0 deaths on Wisconsin roads.
Thank you and welcome back to our June edition of The Place to Be Oshkosh. I'm your host, John Neiman. I'm so excited about the two-legged guests we have today and also the four-legged guests. We are with Journey Together Service Dogs. And I have two wonderful people from this organization who've been doing this for 10 years. Would you guys like to introduce yourselves and tell our audience who you are and how long you've been involved?
Sure. My name is Pam Schubert, and I'm the president of Journey. And I've been involved with Journey since we've started it 10 years ago, almost 10 years ago.
I'm Brenda Cercioni. I'm the director of training. I was also one of the founding members of Journey.
Okay. And who is our special lovable guest?
So if you can see him, this is our boy. This is Legend. Legend is a 2-year-old standard poodle. He's been trained. We got him at 8 weeks old. He's been in our program for the last 2 years now, and he's getting ready to be placed as a service dog for somebody with post-traumatic stress disorder.
Oh my gosh. Now, there's so much to talk about. Tell me how this organization started, first of all, and what you do.
You want to go ahead?
You can start if you want to.
So we started 10 years ago. We're a little bit of a unique organization. Our dogs live and grow up at the Oshkosh prison. They live with inmates in the program. Can you sit? I have super good treats apparently. Here you go. But turn this way. Turn this way. There you go. Sit. Nice. Good boy. Our dogs grow up at the prison. The inmates are learning skills like grooming. So Legend is groomed by the inmates at the prison. So he's got a fancy poodle cut, yes. And they're learning skills that hopefully when they leave the institution, they might be able to put those skills to use. We have over 50 community volunteers that help take our dogs out and give them exposure to things that they couldn't get at the prison. So we don't have any squirrels at prison. We have bunnies, but no squirrels. Or sometimes people will take them out. We'll take them grocery shopping. We'll take them out to dinner, kids events, sporting events, anything we can think of to make them well-rounded, so that when they're placed with somebody with PTSD, they're ready to go.
So how did this partnership start? Because there's always red tape when you do anything. How did it start?
So originally there was, I helped set up a different service dog organization at the prison, but they were out of Madison, Wisconsin, and they were never going to be able to place as many dogs there as we had capacity for. So we started the PTSD program. Over time, we grew. We took those spots over. We have 17 dogs at prison right now, and we have 43 inmates participating in the program.
So somebody must train and teach the inmates the skills that they need. Who does that?
I'm one of the people that does it. Pam comes in and helps us as well. We have 5 trainers that come in. My husband is another one, and then we have Alyssa and Sherry who also participate in the training. So our job is to teach the men how to train the dogs, and then we go out and we do things like testing the dogs and making sure that they're making progress on their skills, and we adjust things, because just like kids, everybody has strengths and weaknesses, and we work through and we improve on the strengths. Can you sit? I know you're really working the crowd. Yes. And so that they have their skills. By the time they're ready to place, they know somewhere between 60 and 80 commands. We just had a dog graduate today, went to somebody. Our dogs are placed at no charge with Wisconsin residents. People who have been diagnosed with PTSD and have been in counseling for at least a year, because a big part, think of the dog kind of like a piece of medical equipment. A wheelchair will help you go from here to there, but it isn't going to cure you, right? It's an enabler so that you can do things. That's what our dogs are. They provide love, they provide support. They'll help you in public places, but a therapist is a major part of what's going to help a person do as well as they possibly can do.
Oh my gosh. I'm amazed about all of this because I've been doing this show for 20 years. I'm a resident of Oshkosh. We knew each other at EAA, and I didn't know at all about this. You know, you hear about some other programs, but I didn't know. Talk about, I'm going to jump around, that's me. Tell me where some of the facility dogs are placed, because I'm totally amazed. And what is a facility dog?
Sure. So a service dog is trained to help the person holding the leash. That's the way to think about that. A facility dog is owned by a facility or an organization, and the dogs are used for the mission of that organization. In the picture you have, the top left is Ross. He's with Christine Ann Domestic Abuse. He lives with a therapist there, and then when she comes into work, he comes along and participates in therapy sessions. Indigo is the second from the left on the top row. He's working at a school for children with special needs. Then you have Xanthos, who's with Sparta Police Department, so he helps de-escalate situations. Pepper on the top right, she is with the Waukesha District Attorney's Office. She helps victims that are getting ready to testify in court. Bottom left is Patton. Patton is with Gold Cross Ambulance Service. He's there to help relieve the stress and anxiety that the paramedics experience when they go on difficult cases. Then you have Phoenix. Phoenix is with Day by Day Warming Shelter. Gemma is with the Oshkosh Police Department. She's with the Behavioral Health Unit there.
Officer Zapata.
Yes, yes, absolutely. And then Gunther is our most recent facility dog, and he's with Solutions Recovery.
That is just amazing. I mean, the power of a pet anyway, but that is totally amazing. So do these facilities then, they know about your program and they apply?
They apply. Our service dogs are placed at no charge to Wisconsin residents. Our facility dogs are purchased by the facility because we fundraise for service dogs, and to keep our donors and our sponsors whole, they know that their funds are going for dogs we're placing at no charge. So we use the facility dogs pay for themselves, is what we charge for. So in 2 years, they will have had 150 public access outings. Our dogs being 2 years old, they're spayed, they're neutered, they'd have hip, elbow, eye testing, so they're thoroughly vetted. If they have any kind of a health challenge, allergies, for example, we won't place them as a service dog because that puts a burden on the service dog handler. Our agreement with our breeders are that if that happens, they go back to the breeder and they replace them with a different dog. So all of our dogs end up with great lives. They're going to help somebody. It depends on what the job's going to be.
So you have to have a really good relationship with your breeder then. I'm jumping around again because when things pop in my head at my age, I got to say it. So how is it paid for? What are your fundraisers? Do you have sponsors? How do you?
We're always looking for help from the public. We've been fortunate, but we just recently had a fundraiser yesterday, a small one. We've got one going on with a brewery in the state. They're helping fundraise. We'll be at Festival Foods where you can buy a paw print to help donate to it. So we're a little organization. We're as cost effective as we possibly can be, and we're thankful for the community support.
So for our TV audience and our radio audience who are listening, how can they contact you if they want to donate?
You can find us at www.journeytogetherservicedog.org because we're a nonprofit. We're a 501c3, so donations to the organization hopefully will be tax deductible based on the situation. You can also find us on Facebook, Journey Together Service Dog. So Facebook, you're going to see all sorts of pictures when our dogs are out and doing things. Last week we had a training event in my driveway. We had all the dogs playing with different dog equipment because we're trying to build confidence in our dogs so that our dogs are ready to go. So we have dogs in the program right now everywhere from about 4 months old to Legend is one of our older ones at 2 years. We won't place before 2 years. We strongly believe they need an opportunity to grow up and mentally mature.
That makes sense.
We also don't know exactly what their likes and dislikes are. So It's very important to us. We don't place dogs first come, first serve. We place best fit. So if we have a dog that's a couch potato, would not be a great dog to go to somebody who's extremely active, who wants to go hiking all the time, right? Not all of our dogs are totally fond with cats or things like that, right? So it's very important to us that it's a good fit for both the person and for the dog.
So then your trainers train those in the prison system to do all of that, like potty training?
Potty training.
I bet you could write a
grooming.
book on that.
We have stories, right? And then we also train our volunteers. And then when we have a client, we're a unique program because our clients, if they're comfortable with going into the prison, we can go into the prison with the client, and the inmates who have trained the dog get to teach the client how to use the dog. So they get to see the full circle on it. They can see everywhere from the baby to the end product on it. Our dogs are rotated at the prison, so by the time the dog graduates, they've had 20 plus handlers. So all of our men that are in the program have participated one way or another in our successes.
So are there stories of the inmates being really, really sad when a dog is gone? I think I would be that way. I've always wanted to foster things, but I don't think I could give it back, no matter what.
Yes, and if they weren't sad, I don't know that they'd be a good fit for our
that's
program.
that's
right?
a really good point.
But because they get to see where the dog goes, they get to see what their work did and how they gave back to the community. Many of our men in the program would talk about how they've done things to hurt people in communities, and this is a small way for them to give back a little bit to the community that they know they injured.
I'm almost speechless, but I'm not, because I keep thinking about this, because we at COTS, we work with residents too from all different backgrounds, whether it's drugs, alcohol, a broken home, divorce even. And I just see how pets can change a life, but also how they want to change. The residents want to change, and they need that change. And I can just see how therapeutic this whole program is. It's totally amazing.
The inmates in the program are volunteers. They don't get paid. So they're working or they're going to school, and then they're doing this in addition to that. So.
And you said there's a process
Yep.
for the inmates to sign up, and they're vetted and.
So they fill out an application, they go through an interview process, and then they leave from the area that they currently live in to the area where the dogs are at. And there's a team of 2 inmates. They have bunk beds and a dog crate, and they don't pick their partner. The unit manager sets up who they're going to be teamed up with. And sometimes they rotate, and sometimes they don't with the teammate that they're with.
Okay.
The dogs all rotate.
The dogs rotate.
Every quarterly.
They
Yeah.
do.
So they don't get too attached. And they get the chance to work with other dogs too in the program.
So you talked about grooming. I'm so interested in how do you teach someone to groom a dog, especially a poodle?
So the really interesting thing about that is our guys are experienced enough that they teach each other. So they absolutely pay it forward to each other. Once in a while we'll bring a groomer in, but frankly I haven't had to for quite a while because they teach each other. And that's another skill, right? That's adult education skills that regardless of when they leave our program, regardless of whether or not they touch a dog again, we're hoping that they picked up skills that will make them employable. They keep very detailed reports on the dogs. If they're on medication, they have to do medical reporting on the dogs. Every month they set goals training goals for the dogs, and then talk about how they did on those goals. Giving and receiving feedback is a pretty difficult thing, and it is for everybody. And for them, giving feedback in a constructive manner and accepting feedback that may or may not have been given in the best tone are all skills that we need for whatever job we have.
And I can just think about all that skill building because, like you said, they have to all get along with each other, and they have to learn how to act, how to respond, and those are all perfect for a job. Even if even if they go out and then they volunteer at a humane society and use the skills that they have, they're giving back in a wonderful way.
They are.
Any stories that we can tell on air? Can I first of all say, when COVID was going around, I still did my show, and people were upset, because people were wearing masks and you couldn't see their expression. But I said, you can see the joy through their eyes. I'm looking at both of you, and you guys are smiling like crazy through your eyes, which tells me you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. And I really appreciate that. I mean, thank you guys,
Thank you.
for what you do. I really appreciate it.
Stories, let's see here. We had a domestic abuse victim who developed PTSD from domestic violence. And the first time I took her into the prison, because she wanted to push through and she wanted to be able to go into the prison to meet her dog and do the training, watching the handlers at that time were so careful about moving slowly and making sure she didn't feel cornered. We met in a meeting room, handing their dog off, because they were handing their dog off, right, to a great extent. It was amazing to see her trust, their attempts to build trust, and to try to make that connection. That was a pretty amazing thing. And every once in a while, we just have these really weird fluke things happen that you're like, I don't know how that happened. During COVID, we had a dog that lived with us. He was a Vizsla, which is a Hungarian hunting pointer breed, who became so attached to us that my husband and we didn't think we were ever getting rid of that dog. We adored him, but that wasn't our intent in life to have him and to keep him. And he came to us because he didn't have an ear flap. He had an ear on one side, but he was born with a birth defect. Okay. We went and did a home visit for a man who had been in a industrial accident and had gotten his head caught in a piece of machinery and lost a piece of his ear. We took that dog because we want to always see how the dogs react in a home, but we never thought that dog would accept, that home. I was kind of beyond hope at that point. We met that man. My dog, because I called him mine because he wasn't going to anybody else, went up to him, and those two walked away, and that dog never looked back at me.
You got placed with him.
And we placed him. That's where we placed him. It was the most incredible thing. If it was ever meant to be, that was an example on it. But that dog wouldn't let other people touch him. My husband and I could, but he would step right behind us, and he's like, "Don't touch me." And when we met Mike, he's like, "This is my guy, and I'm done."
Is that not amazing? It's a higher power from above to have that. Oh my gosh, that just sends shivers. Oh my gosh.
So we've had a bunch of things that you don't think are ever going to work out, and then boom, something happens like that. And
now, is there anything that we haven't talked about that you want to talk about besides, please, donations? You have my number. Their information's here too. You have my number. If you're looking for more information, as they said, they're on the web, they're on Facebook, on donating to a cause like this, because you never know who is going to need this service, whether it's a neighbor, a friend, or a family member. Anything else you want to talk about?
I think the one last thing I'd like to say, so many of our clients are veterans or first responders. They tend to be some of the most stoic people who will say, I don't need a dog. I think other people will value it, get more out of a dog than I will, and I'm here to tell you that that's not true. I think if you think you could benefit from a dog, you should be applying for a dog, and we have bandwidth, and we would love to see applications come in.
And what you're saying is 100% true. When we have veterans, I've dealt with veterans too, they say, no, someone else. I don't deserve it. I did it because I served my country, when they really could use the help in so many other ways. And what they have done for us and for our country is amazing. Let's talk about what I talked about in the beginning, volunteers. You have different things for volunteers to do. Since we still have a little time, let's talk about that. What could you use volunteers to do?
Our volunteers can socialize the dogs out in public. So we do a training process with that. We do a Zoom orientation, and then we go out on 3 public outings. So we show them how to pick a dog up, how to transport them, and how they should behave and how the dog should behave in a public setting. We go to like a big box store, we go to a restaurant. So after the 3rd outing, if they feel comfortable to take a dog on their own, and we feel comfortable that they can take a dog, we sign off, and then we have a email that they can email and request, can I have a dog next week from this time to this time? And then there's a list of all the dogs and what the dog needs to do, like hasn't been to a store, hasn't been to a kids event, and try to match that dog up with that volunteer.
Okay. So they
So
get
they
used
all
to
get-
all different kinds of settings and places.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So are all the dogs bigger dogs? Or is there
Mid-size.
mid-size?
Yeah,
mid-size
because
dogs?
for public access, for the type of work that we're doing with them, a really small dog, for instance, doesn't give the person maybe necessarily as much confidence. When we're in a public setting, if you came too close to me, for example, I could cue the dog and he would stand up and he would stand between us and lean against my knees. So if he was a very small dog, that wouldn't give me the same sense of the dog being there. Deep pressure therapy when they lay across your lap, things like that.
Oh.
So we use bigger dogs for that, but there's other service dog organizations that would use smaller dogs depending on what skills you need the
Okay.
dog to perform.
And I was fascinated by your Facebook page as well and your web page, and good pictures too. You guys have good pictures. What these dogs won't do, they're not trained to do what? With what situations? I was reading like epilepsy.
Yep. We don't do epilepsy. We don't do anything about medication reminders, things like that. PTSD is our primary thing that we do. We have some dogs that have done mobility assist. Autism, we have a dog that's doing very well with somebody who's high functioning on the autism spectrum. It kind of just depends. And just because if you have a need, but it might not be PTSD, we don't discourage people from applying, because sometimes I have dogs that have special skills. And all of our dogs ultimately are trained and their skills are refined based on what the person needs out of it. So it doesn't concern us if we've got a little bit extra that we have to do on it. We do work with adults, though. We don't get into working with children. Not because that's not a worthwhile thing, it's just not our thing. There are other organizations out there that are trained and equipped to deal with that, and dealing with taking somebody into the prison for training. We're not going to be able to have youth do things like that.
That makes sense.
However, families, we love families with children being volunteers because they're teaching the children to give back to the community, and our dogs need exposure to children. So that's a win-win for us.
You won't believe it. The time has just gone on by. We could talk forever, because to me this is a worthwhile cause, and so I'm challenging the studio audience again to call in whether you want to volunteer or whether you want to give and support, because this is a great cause going on in our community, and it should be supported. Thank you guys very much. And your husband was just really good sitting there in the corner, and the dog is just adorable.
He's sick of listening to me. He fell asleep.
But I appreciate this so very much. Journey Together Service Dogs, wonderful organization, a great show to see in June. Thank you very much for watching, and have a blessed summer.